Welcome to Charette Theory, a place where we explore the intentional language of space, time, and material. Today, we begin not in the living room, not in the kitchen or bedroom, but at the very edge of the home. The place of arrival, of release. We begin at the threshold. The entryway is often overlooked. A pass-through. A margin. But in truth, it holds the weight of the first impression. It is the space that greets not only your guests, but you, every time you cross that boundary between the outside world and the intimacy of home. In this episode, we reimagine that threshold as something sacred. This is the beginning of our design journey, the Zen of First Impressions. Autumn entryway design, inspired by Japan. Think of autumn in Japan. There is a hush to it. A golden stillness in the air. Maple leaves turning crimson along the temple paths. The rustle of wind through dried grasses. There's a cultural reverence in how the season is marked, not with fanfare, but with observation. Subtle rituals. Seasonal gestures. A cup of tea beside a branch of persimmon. The deliberate sweep of fallen leaves. A doorway framed in shadow and light. And that's what we bring to the entryway. A place not just to store shoes or hang coats, but to slow down. To arrive with intention. To let the season meet you before you step inside. In this video, we'll guide you through that transformation. How to shape your own threshold with materials that speak softly. With textures that age beautifully. With objects that ask for nothing but attention. This is not about maximal decoration. It's about removing the unnecessary until what remains feels essential. We'll touch on color and light, on sound and scent. We'll bring in nature, not as a flourish, but as a foundation. Every detail, from a single maple branch to a paper-shaded lamp, becomes part of a choreography of calm. You'll see how to layer in autumn's presence without loudness. How to merge ritual and functionality. How to use Japanese design as a compass, not to imitate, but to inspire. Because the power of a Zen-inspired entryway lies not in what it displays, but in what it holds: peace, pause, and presence. So take a breath. Let go of the busyness outside. And step with me into a world where first impressions are quiet, deliberate, and deeply human. Autumn, in the Japanese tradition, is not simply a shift in weather, it is a shift in attention. It's the season that reminds us to look closer, feel deeper, and move slower. Where spring bursts open, autumn folds inward. And in the entryway, this intimate crossing between outside and in, it offers the perfect palette for reflection, ritual, and quiet ceremony. Begin with nature in its most temporal form, the Japanese maple, or momiji. Branches gathered, not arranged. Let them sprawl or arch in a handmade ceramic vase. Their colors, deep crimson, burnt orange, ochre, are a visual haiku. They don't shout, they linger. Place them near the door where natural light can pass through their thin, turning leaves. This is your first gesture of autumn. A welcome offered not with decoration, but with stillness. Next, move into texture. Dried florals, grasses like pampas, stalks of wheat, sprays of eucalyptus. These are not filler. They are forms of memory. The air-dried softness, the muted tones. They speak to Wabi Sabi, the beauty of time and imperfection. Let them lean in a slender jug, or gather them loosely in a wall-mounted basket. There's something about their whispery quiet that fits this season of turning. Consider placing a seasonal wreath on the entry wall or even flat atop a console. Not one of bold colors or synthetic shine, but something more elemental. Twisted grapevine, bent into a loose circle. Bundled rice stalks tied with linen twine. A few amber leaves or dried berries tucked gently in. It's not a front door flourish, but a private nod to the harvest. A symbol of the year folding in on itself with grace. And yes, pumpkins and gourds can appear, but not as novelty. Let them become sculpture. Choose those in pale tones, muted greens, dusty creams, soft slate. Or reach for heritage varieties with unusual ridges and deep textures. Cluster them in threes on a wooden stool or beside a stone tray, as though left there in passing. Their presence becomes grounding, humble, and tactile. Add layers beneath. A runner in hand-woven jute. A woven mat with frayed edges. The fiber should feel aged, lived in, not pristine. Think of the way fallen leaves gather at a temple gate. That kind of asymmetry. That kind of story. Above all, edit ruthlessly. Seasonal decor should never shout its theme. It should breathe it. A few well-chosen pieces can do what clutter never will, they create space for awareness. For emotion. For breath. Allow moments of empty space. Let the negative space hold just as much meaning as what you place within it. And finally, introduce scent. The air should change as you enter. A single stick of Japanese incense in a ceramic holder. Or a subtle essential oil diffuser with notes of cedarwood, hinoki, or roasted tea. Scent, after all, is the most emotional form of memory. Let it mark the season not with nostalgia, but with presence. In this quiet celebration of autumn, the entryway becomes more than a pass-through. It becomes a prelude. A pause. To bring Japanese inspiration into the entryway is not to mimic, it's to interpret. It's about absorbing the atmosphere of a culture that values presence, reverence, and deliberate design. And the entryway, or genkan, is one of the most meaningful spaces in a traditional Japanese home. It's where transition becomes ritual. Start with architecture at the level of suggestion. If your home allows, introduce shoji-inspired forms, wooden slats that offer rhythm, or screens that suggest division without enforcing it. These can be freestanding panels, translucent partitions, or even modern reinterpretations in glass or fabric. The goal is permeability. Light should move through. Boundaries should breathe. Place a tatami-inspired runner or a natural seagrass mat along the entry path. These grounding surfaces mark the shift from public to private. Let them guide the eye forward, but also down, to the floor, to the present, to the act of slowing your pace. Texture underfoot becomes the first language the room speaks. Add a low wooden bench, the genkan gesture. A place to remove shoes, but more than that, a cue to pause. Choose a bench in natural oak, hinoki, or even dark-stained pine. It should feel crafted but not ornamental. Let the grain show. Leave space beneath for slippers in a shallow tray or basket. The space around it matters just as much as the object itself. Nearby, introduce a woven basket or a folded zabuton cushion. Even if no one ever uses it to sit, its presence adds softness, hospitality, and intention. It tells the visitor, or yourself, that this is not a hallway, but a place to arrive. Think of how Japanese design uses asymmetry and negative space. One side of the bench may hold a small stack of folded linen hand towels or a ceramic dish for keys. The other side, empty. That emptiness is not a lack, it's the room exhaling. Use wooden tones, muted earth colors, and soft shadows to evoke a traditional palette. Nothing polished. Surfaces should feel alive, able to age with grace. If you have a modern space, this isn't about making it look ancient, it's about making it feel calm. And wherever possible, connect with the ritual of entry. In Japan, the genkan is not just a space of transition, it's a space of cleansing. We remove shoes not simply to protect the floor, but to symbolically leave behind the outer world. You can echo this with a subtle water feature nearby, a soft towel hung on a wooden peg, or even a line of small stones that suggest a garden path. This is not design as display, it's design as invitation. As mindfulness. You are not filling a space, you are giving it permission to be quiet. In a Zen-inspired space, objects are never just objects. They are gestures, invitations, quiet companions that shape how a room feels, not by crowding it, but by holding its stillness with grace. Begin with ikebana, the Japanese art of flower arrangement. But think beyond blooms. In autumn, A single branch of turning leaves, a crooked stem of dried lotus, or even a twisted reed can become your seasonal anchor. Ikebana is not about symmetry or fullness, it's about balance, line, negative space. It teaches us to see the soul of a stem, not just its color. Place your arrangement in a hand-thrown ceramic vase, low and wide. The vessel matters. Let it be slightly uneven, glazed in earth tones, with textures that hold light rather than reflect it. Beside it, you might place a bonsai tree, not as decoration, but as meditation. The aged trunk, the considered pruning, the patience embedded in each branch. Bonsai invites us to slow down, to observe time not in days, but in seasons and years. Even a small moss garden in a stone dish can echo this sense of cultivated nature, a miniature landscape that holds the vastness of the outdoors in the palm of your hand. Let every functional item carry quiet elegance. A ceramic tray for keys or mail becomes a soft ritual object when it's handmade, when it has weight and intention. Use this same tray to hold an incense stick or cone, a simple way to scent the entryway. Choose Japanese incense, hinoki for a forest breeze, sandalwood for grounding, or kiara, the prized agarwood, for depth and contemplation. Lighting incense here is not just fragrance, it's ceremony. The trail of smoke rising in the air marks a moment of transition. Consider a small stone sculpture, perhaps abstract, or inspired by Suiseki, the Japanese art of stone appreciation. These stones are often left untouched, chosen for their natural beauty and subtle suggestion of landscape. One might resemble a mountain, another a shore. These objects do not announce themselves. They wait to be noticed. Place a stack of seasonal postcards or a bound journal near the bench. Something that speaks to time, to memory, to introspection. In Japanese design, even paper can be poetry. Let it rest on a low wooden tray or a folded cloth. It does not have to be used daily, it simply reminds you that the entryway is a place of mental arrival, not just physical entrance. Avoid clutter, but embrace layered simplicity. Choose one or two items with care, then let space gather around them like silence around a bell. Because in the Zen entryway, beauty is not found in display, it is found in stillness. In restraint. In the feeling that everything present belongs, and everything absent is also part of the story. In a Zen-inspired space, walls are more than blank surfaces, they are fields of possibility. They hold the silence of a room, framing its energy and pacing its breath. In the Japanese tradition, wall decor is never overdone. It is purposeful, poetic, and spacious. It leaves room for thought, for absence, for air. Begin with the idea of kakimono, or hanging scrolls. These are vertical works, often calligraphy or ink painting, that bring rhythm and a meditative stillness to the wall. Imagine a single kanji character, brushed in black sumi ink on rice paper, hung on a linen mount. The word might mean peace, path, autumn, or simply a one. Its power lies not just in its form but in its breath, the strokes that hold intention, the white space that surrounds them like silence. A scroll like this becomes not a statement, but a moment. Or perhaps you prefer something visual, ukiyo-e prints, scenes from the floating world. Woodblock images of rain falling over a bridge, red maples clinging to the banks of a stream, figures moving through foggy Kyoto streets. These prints tell quiet stories. When framed in natural wood or floated behind glass, they add visual interest without volume. Their lines are delicate, their colors soft and faded, like memories hanging gently in space. For more abstraction, seek out sumi ink drawings or contemporary ink washes. These pieces echo the ancient brush traditions but lean modern, gestural, atmospheric, at times almost like a landscape glimpsed in fog. Hung at eye level, they ground the space while inviting inwardness. They aren't made to impress, they are made to settle. If your entryway lacks natural light, consider using art that radiates warmth through glow. A washi paper wall sconce is ideal, casting an ambient, diffused light that evokes lanterns at twilight. Their structure is often delicate, thin wooden frames, rice paper stretched across like cloud. The light that spills from them is golden, low, and soft. It doesn't announce itself, it glows in quietness, shaping the mood of the moment. You might add a mirror, but choose it intentionally. Not a sterile, frameless square, but something warm and grounded. A circular mirror with a rounded cedar or walnut frame. Something with grain, with presence. In Zen-inspired design, a mirror doesn't just reflect, it doubles the calm, expands the breadth of the space. Placed near a light source, it softens shadows. Placed near an ikebana or bonsai, it brings those forms to life from a second angle. And remember, in Japanese aesthetics, it is often what is left untouched that holds the most meaning. Resist the urge to fill every wall. Let one hang in simplicity. Let another remain bare, touched only by the movement of morning light or evening shadow. Because in the Zen entryway, the wall is not just a backdrop, it is part of the experience. A still canvas. A quiet invitation. A space that reminds us that beauty is not in what we add, but in what we choose to let be. Nature in Japanese design is never ornamental. It's not an afterthought, not an accessory. It's a foundation, a quiet pulse that threads through every surface, every object, every pause in the space. And in the entryway, nature is the first guest. It waits without expectation. It welcomes without words. And its presence says, "Here, we slow down." You don't need a garden to bring this in. Just intention. Just attentiveness. Begin at the ground. A shallow tray of smooth pebbles, placed beside the bench or under the shoe rack. Simple. Unmoving. It might seem purely aesthetic, But it does something deeper, it holds the ritual. A small gesture that echoes the dry gardens of Kyoto temples, Karasansui, where raked stones mimic flowing water, and where emptiness becomes form. Here, the pebble tray is both symbolic and practical. It's where shoes pause before being set aside. It defines the boundary between outdoors and in, quietly, wordlessly. Now listen. If your space allows it, consider sound as part of the natural palette. A small indoor fountain, tucked into a corner or placed on a console. The trickle of water isn't noise, it's presence. It gives texture to the silence. It centers the mind. Even a simple bowl with a slow drip can create rhythm. In Japanese gardens, water is not decorative, it is meditative. But even without moving elements, life can be introduced. A single potted fern. A moss-covered stone in a dish. A tiny forest within glass, a terrarium that breathes and changes over time. Choose plants that don't clamor for attention. That don't bloom in fanfare, but whisper in green. Snake plants. Lucky bamboo. Small trailing vines. These are companions, not statements. The vessels matter too. Choose containers made from honest materials, ceramic, clay, stoneware, or aged copper. Let the patina show. Let them lean slightly off-center. Let the object feel found, not purchased. What you're creating is not just decor. It's still life. But not the still life of oil paintings and fruit bowls. This is the stillness of life. The way a plant grows toward light. The way water collects in stone. The way a room breathes when we let nature be part of its rhythm. You don't need a forest. Just a leaf. Just a stone. Just a reminder that you, too, are part of the natural world, even as you step inside. So let the threshold carry that feeling. Let it root you. Let it return you. Because when nature is honored, even in its smallest forms, it doesn't just fill the space. It deepens it. In many homes, the entryway becomes an afterthought of function. A pile of shoes. A tangle of bags. A place to drop the day. But in a Zen-inspired space, even function is offered with beauty. Storage is not hidden. It is revealed, honored, and simplified. It's not about adding more compartments, it's about making the essentials visible and letting them breathe. Start with the shoes. In Japanese homes, the entry ritual begins with the pause. The act of stepping in and stepping out of shoes, of the outside world, of the day's weight. The genkan, that architectural dip in the floor, tells you this is the threshold. While your own home may not have a genkan, the principle remains. Place a low wooden bench at the side. Something simple, grounded, with clean lines. This is your resting point, not just for feet, but for attention. A place to sit. To remove shoes with care. To mark transition. Below it, an open frame shoe rack. Not a cabinet to conceal, but a frame that reveals. Let each pair be spaced with intention. Let the floor show through. Leave gaps. The emptiness is just as important as the objects themselves. Next to it, a woven basket, handmade, perhaps slightly uneven. It can hold house slippers for guests. Or perhaps roll towels for wet days. The material matters. Choose rattan, bamboo, seagrass, fibers that hold memory in their texture. Fibers that come from the earth. Above, a peg rail. Or a single wooden bar, fixed to the wall. From it, let daily life hang gently. A linen tote. A light scarf. A straw hat in late autumn. These items are not clutter. They are layers of narrative. Of season. Of movement. And if drawers are needed, choose them like you would choose sculpture. A small cabinet with sliding doors. A handmade box on a low shelf. Let the grain of the wood speak. Let the joinery be visible. Even a tray for your keys can be an act of presence, a shallow ceramic dish, slightly rough, glazed in earth tones. The goal here is not to hide life away. It is to arrange it. To cradle it in form. To give it rhythm. Because functional storage is not about minimizing mess, it's about honoring motion. It's about saying, this is where the day ends and begins again. This is where you return. This is where your things wait without urgency. So let the storage become part of the design. Let the useful become the beautiful. Let the rhythm of departure and arrival be seen and softened. In this way, your entryway becomes not just orderly, but deeply alive, with the evidence of a life well lived and gently held. In a space guided by Zen, light is not a tool. It is a presence. It is not just what helps us see, it is what helps us feel. And in the entryway, that first gesture of light sets the tone for everything that follows. The lighting here shouldn't declare itself. It shouldn't arrive first. It should unfold, slowly, subtly, like dusk entering a room. Like paper glowing from within. Begin with the temperature. Avoid the clinical whiteness of overhead bulbs. Choose warm, soft light, golden, amber, low on the horizon. The kind of light that doesn't wake you up, but draws you in. Now think in layers. Start low, a table lamp with a shade of washi paper, gently creased or softly imperfect. These are not factory-made materials, they are crafted, touched by hand, pressed from fibers, carrying a texture that catches the light like skin. When lit, they glow like lanterns behind rice paper doors. They do not project light, they contain it. If space allows, Place the lamp near your bench or console. Let it sit at eye level or below, guiding the gaze downward, creating an invitation to pause. On the walls, choose sconces, not too ornate, not too modern. And style if you can find them, wood-framed, paper-backed, glowing like quiet markers on a nighttime path. They don't scream function. They hum tradition. And then, candles. Not as accessories, but as ceremonies. A cluster of them in rough ceramic holders. Beeswax. Soy. With scent, yes, but only barely. Choose earthy, grounding notes, hinoki cypress, smoked tea, cedarwood, sandalwood. These scents aren't perfume. They are atmosphere. Memory. Earth after rain. Let one candle sit at the edge of a tray near your keys. Let another flicker beside a small stone or incense dish. They don't just illuminate. They animate. They give life to shadow. Avoid ceiling lights if possible. But if they are necessary, shield them. Dim them. Let them be diffused through fabric or shade, like moonlight through clouds. And if your entryway has windows, honor the natural rhythm. Let daylight filter through sheer linen curtains, letting the seasons dictate the brightness. Autumn light, in particular, is soft, low-angled, long-shadowed, deeply golden. And that's the feeling you want to echo. Think of lighting not as a switch, but as a mood you dial in. A transition. A moment of welcome that doesn't flood, but folds. That doesn't erase shadow, but partners with it. Because in Zen, light is never separate from darkness. They exist together, in harmony, in tension, in flow. That's why a single, small lamp can feel more powerful than a room full of spotlights. It is focused, contained, alive. So let your entryway glow like a thought held in the palm of your hand. Let it guide you, not just from outside to inside, but from scattered to centered. From day to evening. From movement to stillness. Light, after all, is not just about seeing. It's about arriving. So now, the space is formed. The textures are quiet. The colors have cooled with the season. The light is low and warm. You've created an entryway that does more than function, it welcomes. It listens. It breathes. But before we step away, let's revisit what this transformation is really about. It's not about what to buy. It's about how to see. Not about adding more, but choosing better. And then, choosing less. Before you bring anything in, ask, what is this object saying? Is it necessary? Does it rest easy here, or does it demand too much? And then remove what feels loud. Let go of excess. Let silence have space to speak. Design is not about perfection, it's about presence. That means living with pieces that age gracefully. That change with the light. That hold a little history in their grain, their crack, their thread. It also means living seasonally. Let your entryway shift with time. In autumn, that might mean a branch of persimmon or a bundle of dried rice. In winter, perhaps a single pine sprig. In spring, a blossom held upright by water's quiet tension. These are not decorations. They are markers. Memory keepers. They remind us that time is not linear, but cyclical, sensory, alive. And remember, your entryway is not a hallway. It is a threshold. A daily ritual in spatial form. A pause between the outside world and the one you've made within. So give it care. Give it quiet. Let it be the place where you shed distraction and return to intention. Where you feel the season before you feel the sofa. Where you greet yourself, fully. If you're documenting your own transformation, consider sharing a few before and after moments. Not to prove productivity, but to witness change. To reflect on how little shifts in material, light, and rhythm can create a completely different energy. And if you found resonance in this journey, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to Charette Theory for more episodes where we explore design as a way of living more deeply, more seasonally, and more intentionally. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's your own seasonal ritual at home? What object makes you feel most at peace when you arrive? Let's keep the conversation soft, thoughtful, and slow. Until next time. Live gently. Design with presence. And honor the quiet beauty of coming home.